I guess that is the one that I updated. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight. I'm DM Foss, and with me is Baron SVG. How's it going, Baron?
Going great.
That's good to hear. So tonight, I thought we'd talk a little bit about stuff that's going on in the Second Amendment. Partly because there was stuff going on in Washington and Oregon, which affects us directly. Um, and partly also because I couldn't really think of anything for this week. So that's what I thought we'd talk about. Let's see who was out there. Two live Moo, our attacking daughters, but I think maybe he went to bed. Hillbilly up. Gunpowder Beauty. Bjorn. Faride. Gear Websites, aka Gun Websites. Mike McClune. Agorizer. Whoops. There we go. There's Agorizer. And Iron Road. Good evening to everybody. Excuse me. Oh, Roy Munson. So let me find my story here. With Oregon, they had just passed Measure 114, uh, which requires permit to purchase completion completion of a background check. So instead of there being a cutoff, Washington State it's 10 days. So if your background check doesn't come back within 10 days, then a gun shop can release it. But for Oregon, it would um, remove that cutoff. So you had to wait until your background check came back. And then a restriction on large capacity magazines. Is it a 10 round limit? I can't remember what it is.
Pretty sure it's 10.
Um, and it was, there was a temporary restraining order put on it, so it couldn't go into effect. And the uh, Oregon's Attorney General's office asked the Oregon Supreme Court to step in and allow the measure to go into effect, so to become law. And the Oregon Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to step in. Um, so you see channels talking about that, but it doesn't. Um, all that's doing is the Oregon State Supreme Court is allowing it to go through the process, go through the courts to be heard. It allows the state to remain. So this can't go into effect until it's completely gone through that process. Um, some
Well,
of
that's
the
good.
some of the thumbnails that I've seen on other channels make it sound like this was um, completely stopped. Well, there is a temporary hold on place until it's heard through the courts, and then this uh, state Supreme Court left the door open to where it still could be heard by them in the future, because they dismissed the writ of, is it mandamus, not mandingus. Well, I always want to say writ of mandango, but that's something completely different. Um, Writ of mandangus, dangus, um, without prejudice, which that meant that they still could hear it in the future if it gets to them. So it is good news because it stops it, so it can be heard. And I think as it goes through, it will be thrown out as a law at some point. And you don't know if it'll happen in the lower courts, hopefully. But for us in Washington, I kind of would like to see it go to the 9th district and then get thrown out there, because then that will affect us immediately with laws that were passed in Washington.
I think it's more likely that the California stuff will make it up there first.
Yeah, but so there
Sounds like
is
we're
good.
a couple weeks out.
And this is all still within the state, so anything that's happened so far really only affects them. It's not, if it was federal, then I think I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer. I know if it was a ruling in the federal, then that helps set precedents for other states and other court proceedings.
It does affect some Washingtonians, the ones that were shipping bags to Oregon and picking them up.
Yeah. So it still is positive. I'm not trying to downplay it. Just trying to put it in context about what's going on.
Because context matters.
It does. So how's it going, Iron Road?
It's going pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. G-Webs. Who won the not bracket?
The winner would have been a Baron over there, and the show was, well, Full Metal Jacket won the bonus round, but what won the other side? Married with Children. Married with Children, I believe, won everything. Off of Barney Miller. Barney Miller won all the way to the end to compete with Married with Children. Am I right? I think that's what happened.
I caught part of it and then had to jump out to get set up for this. I did like Barney Miller when I was a kid.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to go watch it again because I'm pretty sure Woods was saying that it holds up pretty well.
Thinking back, I haven't watched it since I was a kid, but I would think it. I would think it would hold up. But I really liked Married with Children also. Gary's out there.
So I normally would have fallen asleep at some point and then woke up for this show, been pretty much rested. So tonight I've been awake, so I'm not guaranteeing I'm not going to fall asleep at some point. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's
Ditto. I think we're all in that boat.
Yes. Squidload did his first live stream ever, and at some point seems to have passed out. And since he doesn't have a co-host, his stream is still going. It's like 7 or 8 hours in, and nobody can get a hold of him to tell him to shut his chat down. So his very first chat will be also a 24-hour chat, apparently. So for Washington State, Baron, what are we staring at?
Hellfire, damnation, bad stuff. I hope you like 7-round magazines. Fuck. Is there a state that has 7-round mag limit?
I don't think so. I've heard it come up a couple times now in the past year. Well, that's especially after New York State Rifle and Pistol Association ruling in the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
The anti-gun machine has really ramped up the screaming and writhing, and they're throwing tantrums, and so they're trying to throw all these really bad bills out, which I personally don't understand. I
think they're trying to put gun shops out of business. Here.
Well, that's the 7-round mag limit. That's one way to do it, because then all you have are, like we were talking before, PPKs, 1911s, and revolvers.
Revolvers, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if revolvers are exempt, or like they gonna ban 9-shot 22H and like.
I'm okay because I understand guns. I'm okay if like you take 3 of the cylinders and weld them up. I'm okay with that because I'll still feel safe if you have just 7 rounds in those 10-round revolvers.
They also want to ban, what they call it, shotguns with revolving cylinders.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do they mean the Taurus Judge, or are they talking about like the Circuit Judge rifle length shotgun thing?
The Street Sweeper Light, you mean?
Well, there's only like 3, because the Street Sweeper isn't made anymore, but that would ban the Street Sweeper, that would ban the judge. I would think
governor,
it would
the
apply
judge,
to
and the Circuit Judge.
They're definitely,
and the several tens of thousands of dollars Colt Lightnings or whatever they were rifles. And I'm sure the scourge of the streets of the Pacific Northwest with all your rust and everything.
They're going to go after mare's legs next. They watched, what was that?
Gunsmoke.
The Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen. What was that?
They watched Serenity, and they're like, that lady has a short lever action on her.
But, yeah, they want to do a assault weapon ban. They want to do state preemption, get rid of it. They want to do licensing. There's one more. Gun shop liability for like something bad happens with a gun. You can sue the gun shop that it was bought from.
Which I don't
public nuisance?
I don't even know how you would be even able to track that. Aside, you got the 4473, but even then, like if a guy steals a gun, and even with the serial number, there
could be a torch and everything. You get the gun really hot where the serial number is, and then you brand both the purchaser and the gun shop seller. You brand them both with the serial number of the gun, so that for the rest of the time they've got it branded on them, the serial number of that gun that they transferred.
Oh yeah, I learned that the hard way the other day when I went to the gun show, that they don't want serial numbers exposed when people are taking pictures and videos, because like criminals would etch that serial number into their gun, which makes no sense to me, because if you're at that point, why not try and etch a gun?
That's not actually happening, because you could just make up a number. You don't have to actually go to a gun show to take a picture of a number.
Right.
Or you could open up a book and go, what's the serial number range of this gun? Oh, here they are in the blue book. So
that's
somebody that's just paranoid or whatever.
Paranoid FUD at the gun show. Nothing new.
Mm-hmm. Nothing new. Yeah, and it's real funny too. When I went there to the gun shows, I remember hearing behind my shoulder someone talking about ones like, I don't understand why people don't go to gun shows anymore. And it's like, you look at what people are offering right now, and they're offering their Safe Queens and stuff, and they're really nice, straight shooting guns. But they're not, junk. They're basically brand new out of the box, but they're offering like MSRP or were above MSRP, and when they're not really that collectible per se. And so, when they stopped offering good deals, people stopped coming.
Well, I look at it as you have an opportunity to bring people together, like a car show or like a fishing tournament, where you bring like-minded people together. And if stuff sells, it sells. But you're also letting people be aware of what's for sale, what's available out there. So now, if someone sees something like a Garand or a Civil War gun or a trapdoor this or a revolver that, now they know, okay, that's the person that might have something else I'm looking for. And then you create those relationships, and over time you start to see what people bring to the show. Now, if you go to one gun show randomly and you see somebody overpriced, if you go to the next show, are they going to have a more reasonable price because they realize that they were overpriced, or are they going to be the person that has overpriced for a long time? And then are you going to watch and find out that they're overpriced for a long time because they sell their guns once in a while? And they're allowed to do that in capitalism. Like, they're allowed to be fishing like really dumbly with like the wrong lure, and every once in a while they're going to catch a fish. So I hear you, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity at gun shows to hang out with people. And if you ignore them, they go away. If you water them, they flourish. And if you want a gun show to be amazing, hang out at it, open up a table, and start attracting cool people. And then guess what? A bunch of other cool people show up. And gun shows fluctuate just like literally anything. Just like the range will fluctuate. If nobody cool goes to the range, then the range gets lame. When a whole bunch of cool people go to the range is the coolest place to go every weekend. Gun shows are the same way.
Yeah, I brought a gun in for consignment at my local. And the guy that was taking it in, he's like, "Oh, you're asking too much." I was like, "Okay. Well, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell." And it took about 2 weeks, but I sold it for about 66% more than I bought it for. Just because you can't get any more. And somebody wanted it, and they paid. So, I mean...
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes it works out, so...
I've paid more than probably what people would consider, market value, just because I was willing to pay it, and it's what I wanted.
And it's right there.
Yeah,
that's what caused me to get that single 6 too. And to be honest, it was above MSRP, but it was below what people were, big box stores and even smaller gun stores were offering for it brand new.
Kind of tangential, but go to a car dealership right now. Try to buy something for MSRP. It's impossible.
Have I had my car 2 years?
They charge more now, you mean?
It's when I bought mine 2021, and it was like a fist fight. They were charging over MSRP and did not want to come down. But I was willing to walk away and basically told them several times, like, well, if we can't agree on the number, that's all right. That's the way it is sometimes. So, well, let me go talk to my manager. And they went back and forth and then got it down to, well, I won't say what I wanted, but closer to what I wanted. And then I was yesterday looking at used cars, seeing what was out there. There's not a lot of used cars at the dealerships around here, and they're for something that was under 100,000 miles. They're like 10 grand.
Interesting thing about this assault weapon ban they're trying to do in Washington, it appears that it's going to ban spare parts, because the way they wrote it I could be wrong. Feel free to read it yourself, but they're banning anything that could be assembled into an assault weapon. So if you have extra parts for the gun you already have, and you have enough of them to build another gun, that is technically not a grandfathered object.
Huh.
I would, it would not surprise me because they kind of did that with the magazine limit, where you can't get parts to fix it if you have a 15 round mag, say. You can't buy spring or anything like that. You can't buy parts for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they work that into an assault with quotes weapon ban.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if we happen to have people from Washington out here listening tonight, if you think you're going to go buy a bunch of receivers and you'll be golden, you might want the parts to go with them because they might not ship them into the state anymore.
It and with this is my opinion. Even if it somehow passes, I believe it will get struck down.
Yeah, eventually.
That's the one pain in the ass part is it'll be an eventually will get passed, will get struck down. So you might have to wait. But if you think long term, this is will set law in perpetuity. For the most part, because even Supreme Court rulings change. But it's we wait a little bit to get the bad laws thrown out, and then that's the law of the land for as long as it stands.
Yeah, let's not forget how long California's been waiting. Hopefully, their cases will get up there first, and they can free everyone in the 9th.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish. I don't quite understand why. I can see having the different courts, to handle different regions just for efficiency. You can't have, like the Supreme Court can only hear so many things.
Yep.
So if you've got a bunch of courts, then they can hear more things. Why does not a ruling in the 9th apply to the whole country? It is a federal court. My thinking it should apply to the other states also, even though it was only heard in the
rest of the country is freaking out hearing you say that. They're like, oh God, their terrible rulings are going to affect me.
What? That's one thing I've never really understood. Why those wouldn't apply?
I think it has to do with so many cooks in the kitchen, to be honest, because you have, it wouldn't be hard for them to coordinate realistically. They might argue time zones and stuff, but the thing is, at that point, just have the judges, meet. But then that is a lot of judges meeting. And I think that would only cause things to be drawn out longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a smart man, but I can lift heavy things. M. Gabriel's out there. Good evening, and the bearded guy. So I know that there was what kind of got me thinking about some of this was there was some kind of small court case that had happened a week or so ago that I cannot remember what it was. That's one that I wanted to talk about, and I don't even know what it was about. So you guys know of any other?
The case of the missing Second Amendment case?
Yeah.
I got no idea.
Mario Mosen, good evening.
We have a question for G-Webs.
So the bearded guy said, I was looking at a 1911 and they said it was a 70 series. I thought the 80 series was the only one that had that round hole in the slide.
I'm not sure why you're adding that one to me, but I do not know anything about that other than vaguely the difference between the 70 and the 80s. I think Barron would know way more about that, or maybe Foss, or maybe Iron Road.
Yeah,
I know what he's talking about.
So go ahead and you can answer.
So Series 70 doesn't have the what do you call it? The disconnector for the firing pin for when you pull the trigger. It lifts up that little duckbill lever, and it goes up into that hole in the slide that he's talking about, and makes it so the firing pin is releasable. So technically, you can have a Series 70 frame with a Series 80 slide on it, and it'll still work. You just got to take out that plunger for the firing pin block.
Yeah, that's all that I kind of knew, was one had a firing pin block and the other didn't.
I was going to do a short where I was like, what's wrong with my 1911? Chambering live rounds and pulling the trigger. It's like, not working. Don't try that at home, folks. I don't want to get blamed for you blowing your foot off.
You probably get some good comments on that one.
Yeah.
M. Gabriel said, I don't like district or circuit court injunctions being applicable nationally. Unconstitutional seizure of power.
Agreed. So usually when there's two rulings in two different circuits that disagree, then it'll go up to the Supreme Court.
Well, that's the way it's designed to work. It hopefully now with the NYSERPA, the New York State Rifle and Pistol ruling, because there was a patchwork where there were different rulings in different circuits. So hopefully with this ruling, it helps clear up some of those discrepancies. Iron Road, quiet down.
I was going to say, I personally think the Ninth Circus is going to intentionally kind of, what you would say, intentionally draw it out towards the point where they might actually have to get where the Supreme Court might actually, what's it called, a summary reversal ruling, where it's a really, really, really harsh reprimand of the lower court. And what that is that it's basically SCOTUS saying that your ruling is so garbage, it's so blatantly unconstitutional, we're just overturning it without having to hear any arguments.
Has that happened before?
It's happened a couple of occasions, according to Armed Scholar. It's very rare that they do it like right off the bat. But given the circumstance that there's a number of cases that got GVR'd back all the way down to the federal circuit court level, and are now starting to get into the bigger forms of the circuit courts, like the lowest you could possibly go is, like, for example, Judge Robert T. Benitez in Southern District of California of San Diego. And then it gets up to the ninth. GVR, it's basically the Supreme Court's making them redo their homework. They're saying, you got it wrong, but we're going to give you a chance to get it right.
Yep. Part of that is the Supreme Court likes to have everything worked out as much as possible before it gets to them. to set good law. So that's why they sent the cases they did. They GVR'd the cases they did. Send it down, have them hear it out with the new guidelines, and then go from there.
And also, from what I understand, they only really use it too against federal and circuit courts that tend to like really piss off the Supreme Court. So like if they're kind of thumbing their nose and like have a history of doing that, it wouldn't surprise me that the Supreme Court has used crap, I just said it. I already forgot the term. Summary reversal on them.
Well, some of the cases that were sent back to the ninth sent back to the courts below them. They basically GVR'd the GVR and told them.
Oh, because they want to delay it for as long as they can.
I kind of think that just because of the way the ninth tends to rule, but maybe they just want it worked out below them first. I don't know. We'll give them.
Well, it was worked out before, below them before even that even occurred,
but maybe not with the stricter guidelines. Right.
Yeah, with the post-Bruin world. But even then, I like this is also a circuit court that ruled that we don't have a Second Amendment right to carry outside the home. So I mean, this is a pretty bold court that we're speaking of.
Yeah, and in the Oregon, when I was reading one of the articles for the where did I put it? There it is. For the Oregon 114 ruling, so the group that brought it to the ballot had put out a statement where they were talking about the will of the people. They don't want the courts to overrule the will of the people. Well, the big problem with that is if it's unconstitutional, the Constitution is there to protect a minority of people from
the majority.
Yeah.
And I would even, sorry to interject, I wouldn't even call it the will of the people, because let's, not be joking ourselves. This thing passed with only 0.7% of the vote.
Yeah, but I'm speaking more of the thinking behind the statement is, well, as long as it was passed, then it should be law. By that logic, anything that you pass, where they could say you don't have a right to your First Amendment, you don't have a right to your Fourth Amendment. We can bring back slavery because it was passed by 51%. That's a problem. That's why we have a constitution, is to protect people from that.
There is some good news in 2A in the 9th. Let me pull it up. Here we go. So this is a statement from Gavin Newsom. Wake up, America. This assault on our safety will only accelerate. This is serious, and it is coming to California. We are probably only 2 weeks away, from another activist judge, Judge Robert Benitez, striking down California's ban on assault weapons and large-capacity magazines. California will continue to fight against these extremist judges to protect our residents' right to be free from gun violence. So, writing's on the wall, and even they see it.
Yeah, and that's, when I saw that statement, it's the desperation. And
the term activist judge, like, who really gets to determine who really is an activist judge? Like,
well, that's in all the articles that I read when I was searching earlier today, searching the interwebs. A lot of the articles for The Hill. God, who else? Not trying to remember.
The Onion.
No, I wish. But they frame the NYSERPA as an expansion of 2A, which it's not really an expansion of your Second Amendment right. It's it's cutting the restrictions from the government. It's not giving you more rights than you were supposed to have. It's giving you back the rights that are in
Restoration.
the Constitution. Yes, thank you. And then they talk about the conservative judges, and this is through all the articles. All have the same talking points. And then now the GOA is becoming the boogeyman, where it used to be the NRA. Now I'm starting to see the GOA. So in a few of the articles, at least a couple of the articles, they use the GOA as, they say they are the plaintiff, where they're not the plaintiffs. They are, I guess they are somewhat.
I do know they're funding the judges, and they're also, well, not the judges, but they're funding the attorney legal fees.
Yeah.
To represent people, much like how FPC does, where you have the on FPC's website, you could sign up to be a plaintiff in a court case.
See, that's the thing, is the plaintiff is somebody who has to have been injured by the law, and the GOA isn't the one injured by the law. They'll be helping whoever it is. But they're the big name that's being thrown up as the evil, uncaring gun group. And you'll see that where all the articles that you'll read, you'll even the politicians, they all use the same rhetoric, same talking points.
I would definitely say local news media has not been too friendly about the state judge putting a TRO on that 114.
Skid Mark's out there. Good evening. Yeah, so I'm not this. The intent of this chat was not to make people sad or worried. It's to say this is what's going on, but I do believe in the end there's going to be good things to come out of this. Like, really, really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next Supreme Court session.
The nice thing about what happened recently with 114 is that the Rosenblum, the state attorney general, was not only denied once but twice to remove the restraining order, because the first time it was put in place, she put in an emergency relief, and then she put in for a formal package to have an oral argument laid out, and even that got denied. And so this makes the third time, because this time that it got denied, it was a petition, like Foss was saying, by the people that the sponsors that put that were getting the signatures to put the ballot or the initiative on the ballot. And so yeah, and quite honestly, I'm astonished at how many times that I was honestly astonished to hear that the Oregon State Supreme Court was willing to deny it. But I also think that they too are trying to play a careful game of chess in cat and mouse, trying to give it a fair shake before they boldly make their move.
It was kind of interesting that it was brought to the ballot. The group that brought it to the ballot was kind of an organization of churches.
Yeah, it's Lift Every Voice Oregon.
Yeah. So there was, I know one was a reverend and then one was a rabbi. It was just curious.
That's odd.
Yeah. And M. Gabriel is wondering who else listens to Mark Smith and Four Boxes Steiner. I do. He is a Supreme Court. He's on I don't know how you term it. He's on the bar for the Supreme Court, and he's been referenced by district courts before, some of his writings. So he knows what he's talking about.
I have listened to him. I do not listen to him regularly.
Yeah, he's like a lot of the lawyers who have YouTube channels. They're kind of wordy. And usually I'll cut in 5 minutes at least when I start listening because, you cut out some of the wordiness, and then sometimes you have to jump ahead a little later.
So he has some books that he's written, and he puts them on the table behind him. And I think he may have links to them. And then he offers almost a transcription of what he says with links, like, what do you call them? Basically a table of contents with timestamps that link to the points that he's going to make. And he's putting stuff out timely when it's necessary, and then like more scripted or thought out or researched, whatever you want to call it, like when he's addressing stuff. And then when you compare that to the other entities that are in the same realm, they're all funded by significant funding sources, and they're selling merch, t-shirts and hats, rather than books that took time to write and are designed to inform and give people resources, knowledge, better conversations, change people's minds on the other side. I imagine if his books are anything like his videos, they're resources. They're not, like fiction that makes you want to buy the next one. So he's got 4 books. How much can he possibly be making? That's all I'm saying. Like, that guy is doing it for the goal of getting information across and attempting, I suspect because of his effort, that the way that he's doing it, he's trying to solve stuff rather than just yell every time there's something to yell about. Does that make sense? So yeah. I think for those reasons, he does yell, like he's loud, but for some reason he may, he let of us shoot or something. Maybe he realizes that a bunch of us are half deaf or something. But
he might just be.
It's a little bit odd, but again, compared to some of the other stuff that we've got in that realm, like we got. He's a very interesting choice, and he's new to the mix. But
yeah, I'm
liking him more than pretty much anything else that's out there right now.
I do. Out of the lawyers, he's the one I prefer to listen to. The guy in Washington, what's his Baron?
William Kirk, Washington Gun Law.
His content has changed a little bit, so he's He's not my favoriteest, but he's still, it's relevant to me personally. So I will watch him also. There's other kind of lawyer ones which I just can't because brevity is not their thing. The key to good communication is brevity.
There's I have to agree with that. And there's also one thing that that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. It's one of the main reasons why I don't really listen to Guns and Gadgets and or Mac or any of the other YouTube channels, because when it comes to videos about the measures or like these gun control things, is that they're just a little bit wordy. They don't break it down in terms of meat and potatoes. But one big pet peeve of mine that I have is it's not necessarily clickbaity titles. It's titles that tend to get things wrong in the sense that, like, for example, Armed Scholar has a tendency to use big win in a very embellishing way, saying this was, we just recently got this happening, and to me, it's a rather small thing, that happened in the court. Whereas to him, it's really large. But then the thing is, like, for example, there was a point in time where I think gun control groups, they got denied a motion. But then in the ruling, their motion, like the law about gun control, was upheld. So he will do a video about that as the day that it came out that, hey, the motion for them to dismiss this lawsuit was, denied. But then he'll have a subsequent video later out when the courts come back with their ruling, how it was a loss. And it's like, hey man, it's like, can you kind of cut back on how you word your thumbnails and some of your videos?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specific channels,
but
just because it can end up. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but it can end up just turning into a bitch session about this guy or that guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of gossipy garbage, which
that's been going around a lot recently with a lot of these podcast shows, a lot of podcast drama.
And the bearded guy was asking about Four Boxes Diner, only covers 2A or more. I haven't watched. I've only started watching him in the last year or so, and he's been doing 2A stuff. So I don't know what he's covered before that. I haven't gone back to look at his older videos, and I don't know if he has a B channel or anything like that.
Seems like just Second Amendment focused stuff, and not like, I haven't made a video yet today, so here's something that's interesting or important, or here's an urgent thing. It seems like it's more when there's something to be said, but he does post on the regular.
AAF, American Ammo and Firearms, good evening. So M. Gabriel deleted his vomit. I don't know. That was kind of what I had, and I sat down a couple times today to do show prep and look up different court cases, and then ended up always getting sidetracked.
I got a couple more Washington centric.
Do you want just court cases, or do you want Second Amendment issues?
We can talk about whatever. Second Amendment issues is fine, or maybe
Baron has something. I've got a dog that's driving me nuts because he has to go POTTY. So I'll go do that and come back if you're still on.
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
so
go ahead, Baron.
I was talking to my local gun shop, and if this assault weapon ban passes, and you have a gun that qualifies under this ban on consignment at the shop, they are not allowed to transfer it back to you.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like I had a Garand there that's for sale. That'll just be untransferable back to me if this shit passes.
Yeah, that's like a lawsuit and a half on terms of what Fifth Amendment grounds.
Not sure, but
Yeah.
gun shop said
Because
the only
well,
thing they
because
would be willing to do is to sell it out of state if I could find a buyer.
well, that's the thing. It's depriving you of your property that you're putting up for sale, though. That's just
Well, that's part of the problem. Technically,
criminal.
it's the gun shop's property now for like the 90-day period. That's how they're able to sell it. Otherwise, they'd have to like call me every time they got an offer and have me come in.
Mm.
So I transferred it to them when I put it on consignment.
Roy is asking, can they transfer it back if they make a complaint, or is that not how the proposed law works?
Make it compliant.
Ah, yeah.
I don't think there's any way to make a M1 compliant under this. Because it's all semi-auto rifles, regardless of features. If it's a semi-automatic rifle, it's banned. So, I mean, they'd have to make it like a single shot. And man, that would really suck.
And what happens with this ban? What does that mean for you guys in Washington? You have to like modify it to make it like a single, like a, almost like you have to manually charge it in order to keep it, or do you guys have to surrender it? No grandfathering or anything like
No,
that?
they're grandfathered.
So do you get a ping after every shot?
After the only shot, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh man.
AAF is bringing up New Mexico is pushing an assault weapons ban. They also want to ban hollow points.
Hollow points.
Yeah, like I guess like New Jersey, 'cause New Jersey bans hollow points.
That's a new one. I didn't know New Jersey did that at all.
And he said also a 2-week waiting period.
Oh, I see what he's saying. If you remove some parts. So they also have like a readily convertible clause in the law to where like if I only have to put like the gas trap like back on the rifle, it's still an assault weapon. If it's just like missing one part, then it'd have to be like welded.
I thought there was a comment that I was going to bring up.
I do have a loophole, though. I think I've saved everyone in Washington. Get a load of this. So, you know how it's illegal in a lot of places to buy fireworks?
Yeah.
Where do people buy fireworks in Washington?
On the reservation.
Exactly. So, what would stop a person that lives on the reservation from... Because state laws do not apply on the reservation. That's only federal.
That came up in a chat before, and I think Woods addressed it. And I don't remember because somebody was talking about machine guns. Why don't they just make machine guns on reservations?
Yep.
And I don't remember if there was an agreement that they would follow something so that disallowed them from doing that. I don't recall. I was going to mention that Florida is trying to push a permitless carry. I don't know if it's just permitless or if it's constitutional carry. Constitutional carry would apply to anybody. Permitless applies to people from that state. So that would make them number 26 if they can get that passed. So more than half of the states would be either permitless or constitutional carry.
Isn't there a certain number of states, like a magic number that you need, like 1/3 of the union, in order to cause a convention of states regarding a certain issue?
2/3.
2/3?
No.
No? Or
2/3.
okay.
And that's a gamble. If we had another constitutional convention, I don't know if we'd like what would happen.
Yeah, especially with the modern politicians that we have today. Because that means they can propose almost anything and everything that they want in there.
They can also repeal.
M. Gabriel saying the Florida bill does not allow permitless open carry, only concealed carry.
And would it, and if they propose things for an amendment process, would the filibuster in the Senate apply at this point, or no?
No idea.
Because I know, like, if you want to propose a bill, but you don't get the 60 votes in the Senate,
Well,
it doesn't go
the
anywhere.
filibuster is only for certain things. I don't know what certain things it's for.
Skidmarks says, but surely FMJs will get more pass-throughs and hence more secondary injuries. I don't know the wording or the reasoning, but it's probably like has to do with what Mike McClune is bringing up about what the fuck is an assault weapon. It's, scary features, not anything technical. It's just they get called what?
It's a legal term. It's not a real term.
Yeah, and the attributes given to these things are all over the board and contradictory, and so it doesn't matter the factual point. It's just the emotional point. And again, I don't know about the hollow point, but with the rifles and assault rifles, and this feature, that feature, or because it's a scary black rifle, it's because they can push the scary black rifle as being more deadlier than the wood rifle, although it sounds like Washington is pushing to get rid of the wood rifle also.
Yep.
That one bit had me laughing, that idiot Jerry Nadler, when he was saying that the M1 is an old weapon. Therefore, it's not an assault weapon, but it's putting more, bad guys into the forever sleep than any other weapon we had.
It's not an assault weapon, but it is.
It's a battle rifle.
A battle rifle.
Well, much in the same way the M4 was. It's in military doctrine. It's designated as the main battle rifle for the infantry.
Battle rifle has to be a full caliber cartridge, though.
What do you mean full caliber?
Like 308.
30-06,
30-06. So 5.56 is intermediate.
Well, I mean, it may be considered. Yeah, you could argue semantics, but as far as the actual designation and the verbiage that the military uses, M16, M4, it is designated as the main issue battle rifle per se, verbatim, and a lot even. I remember reading that in the Marines. It's the MOUT, the MOOT. It's a mountainous and urban environment tactical handbook that the United States Marine Corps uses.
Mike McClune said, I have a 1/2-inch piece of Lexan, and it was shot with a 9mm Full Metal Jacket and a 45 ACP jacket at Hollow Point. Can anyone guess what passed through and what did not?
The Hollow Point.
Well, that's the Hollow Points. They're designed to expand and impart all their energy within the target.
I bet you the hollow point went through.
I'm guessing the 9mm did.
Probably the pointy 9mm Full Metal Jacket went through. Yeah, I was going to make an analogy, but nobody would probably get it.
I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me the Hollow Point didn't, not because, my 45, but it's just contrary to what you would expect. And I've seen some not 45 ammo per se, but some Hollow Points that will do that on a target.
Yeah.
Well, like the 380s will, but that's because they don't expand. Because there's only like 2 brands that can go fast enough.
Well, and they're only... Well, and their thing is they're being propelled so slowly that it's not getting past what Paul Harrell would call the expansion threshold. The necessary velocity that it would need to expand, but it's moving fast enough to to go through a target.
The 9mm is going faster though, and it's pointy.
That makes it scarier.
But isn't that the one that's the Full Metal Jacket?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So if you wanted to talk about 2A stuff,
sure.
Since the last show that you had like this, what I do on the thumbnails for the weekly wrap up is try to put good stuff on the left side and the other stuff on the right side. So you've got in Arizona, we got our rally next weekend, I should say. There's like 3 different pistol brace lawsuits out there. I don't know if you talked about that or if you've been paying attention to that one. There's a concealed carry reciprocity act in the Senate. There's that rifle act, repealing illegal freedom and liberty excises act. There's one called the No User Fees for Gun Owners Act. Illinois is having all kinds of frustration with their assault weapons ban and their attempts being thwarted to enforce it. North Carolina has SB 40, Pistol Purchase Permit Repeal Act, so they're getting rid of their pistol permit to purchase, or they're attempting to. West Virginia has a bill for the credit card stuff. Mississippi has a thing for the credit card stuff to stop credit card companies from asking if it's a gun shop or if they're selling guns or not. Maryland is doing something about hunting waterfowl on Sundays, trying to end the prohibition on that. Oregon has House Bill 3118. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that one at all. That's a positive one. You've got Arizona has a similar one, HB 2332. Florida has HB 45 or 543. That's constitutional carry. I think you just mentioned that. There's 25 states suing the ATF right now with the SB brace and B&T and a defendant. You got North Dakota changing their constitutional carry to include everybody out of state. And then
nice.
I got a bunch of negative ones as well, but that's the positive ones just for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I think there's a push for the negative by the anti-gunners, but I think it will be overcome by the positive in the long run. Just got to wait it out, which is the tough part. And again, that's just my opinion. I don't have any inside track or any education. That's just, the way I see it.
question. So, this assault weapon ban passes, and I lose my Garand in this limbo. I can sue them because I have standing.
Yep.
Good to know. Come at me, bro. Come on.
Bring it, bitch.
Yeah.
G-Webs, I was going to ask you, you said there's an Oregon bill. You said what number was that? 3118, you said?
Yep.
What does, have you read up on it? Or
It is the one that would get, I'm pretty sure that's the one that gives training to kids in school.
Oh, because I was looking at it, and it's from the 2019. Oh, this is from the 2019 session. It's authorizes State Department of Fish and Game to use the use of appointed agents for purposes of cougar management.
Different than that one.
I volunteer for that job.
Is that being? Does that involve the? What's the guy from Oregon that does the?
Yeah, that one is Derek from Kids.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah.
So I found it under relating to firearm safety instruction at public schools, declaring an emergency, authorizes public schools to provide firearm safety and accident prevention class to students in first grade. May have fiscal impact, but no statement yet issued. May have revenue impact, but no statement. In committee. So it's essentially a bill that would say if you're in first grade, you get a hour class about what it's like to leave a gun alone and tell an adult. Derek is doing it. That's not going to be Eddie Eagle, but it'll be something very similar, I imagine.
Do you know if it's mandatory or voluntary?
Oh, that I don't know. Relating to fire, I don't know. Let me see if it, oh, here's text. Here, I'll put the link to it in the thing.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, I put a link right here.
The Rooney Rule is what it's called.
Each school district and public, each school district and blah, blah, blah may provide a firearm safety and accident prevention class to students in the first grade. The class may be offered to each school term of the year for a total of at least 30 minutes. The class must be taught by a school resource officer, law enforcement officer, first responder, or a person certified by a national firearms organization on the safe and proper use of firearms. So it's essentially fighting on the new front of gun safety. So gun or safety from guns or safety with guns. And this is, attempting to put something in that has gun safety in it preemptively, so to speak, to the one that's going to show up and say, there should be no gun education in school, or essentially what they have.
Yeah, that's good. I just skimmed it, and it is voluntary. So if you don't want your kid in it, you can opt out.
I would only opt my kid out if they were going to say stuff like, here's a 9mm gun.
What's you and your beef with 9mm? I never got it.
I just don't want the next generation to have to deal with it. So
it's almost as evil as a Volkswagen Beetle. We'll just leave it at that.
So I
remember
watching, Smeggy was telling everybody about the Second Chance movie. It's called Second Chance. Did he tell you all about it? Are you here? I remember when he was telling us about this.
Yeah, I am not familiar with it.
Okay, so Second Chance body armor. There's this guy, whatever his name is the guy that invented Second Chance body armor. And in order to sell it, he would go around and take a gun. He would be like, "Let me see your gun." And
I've seen this.
Yeah. Gun, and he'd shoot himself with your gun in his body armor, right? Shoot himself in his right in the middle of your chest. What is that called? Your solar plexus or whatever that's called. Bam! Shoots himself with his gun, right? And and I guess I've heard of that before, but I never paid a lot of attention to it. Smeggy says there's a documentary. It just came out in December of 22, and he says it's interesting, and he wants people to see it and then have a conversation about it. So I don't know whatever that means, right? But it's $5. You have to go pay $5 to go watch it somewhere. So it's too new. It's not anywhere you can watch it for free yet. So with that in mind, I'm looking around for it for free, right? I'm not gonna pay no $5 to watch some movie. So I'm looking all around for free, and I find Johnny Rollins Shooting Show, right? The Johnny Rollins Shooting Show archives. Somebody found all the Johnny Rollins Shooting Show VHS tapes and put them into DVD or put them into digital and put them on YouTube. So there is a second chance bowling pin shoot from 1986 that I found, and it's like 2 hours long. It's like a VHS that you would buy at the end of going to this bowling pin shoot. So that guy who invented second chance body armor would shoot himself all the time, and then in order to show people that it wasn't a fake gun, he would bring bowling pins with him, and he would shoot himself in the chest, and then he would turn around and shoot these bowling pins and knock them around. And then that way people knew he was really shooting bullets and not blanks. And then somebody was like, that looks like fun as hell. And he's like, all right, you want to shoot me? And he's like, no, I want to shoot them bowling pins. So then he ended up making a bowling pin match. And that's where bowling pin matches come from. I think, boom, that's where bowling pin matches come from. And they're a elaborate thing. And this one in 1986 was like the 12th anniversary one, or the 12th annual. And it's crazy interesting. So anyway, the part of that the reason I started ranting on this is 1986, and I'm not even shitting you. This guy is going, here's how this bowling pin match works. You put your bowling pin here and you have to shoot it off, and it's all about, it's super tactical. It's actually super tactical because it's not like a paper target where it's just marksmanship, and it's not like a steel target where it's just placement and power factor and everything, like shot placement. So in this case, you have to shoot the bowling pin, and it's a very organic situation. Literally a bowling pin's going to knock all around, and you have to get it off the table. So sometimes you can hit it right off the table, but most of the time, very much like a gunfight, you have to adapt and quickly follow up with a second shot somewhere else and accurate, right? So it's super interesting, and it's like it immediately caught the attention of all these people who were looking for like something more difficult than your typical competition shooting. So it's all these like crazy, I'm going to call them tactical, but they weren't tactical looking people. And anyway, the kid in this he's telling you how the bowling pin match works. And he's like, and now if you're shooting 9mm, we got to put your bowling pin over here because the 9mm just can't handle it. And it's like an excellent example of how in 1986, everyone despised 9mm. Like people were shooting it. We would let them shoot their guns. But, it was just everybody hated 9mm. So it was just my nature. It's the way I was grown up. It's not like it's a newfangled thing to hate 9mm. It's new to accept 9mm.
I will poke fun at 9mm just because it makes people who love 9mm mad.
It's like Chevy guys making fun of Ford or vice versa. No big deal.
Today I carried a 9mm. I put up pictures of a 9mm on YouTube's. I still like 40, but I don't carry my 40 anymore. It's become a bedside gun. Mike Blue said, who gives a shit about arguing over pistol calibers? I will always say buy a Pew, become familiar with the Pew, train, and become proficient with said Pew, then repeat. I agree. I don't think there is any one perfect caliber for everybody. Whatever works for you that you are comfortable with carrying so that you will carry. You do you. That's the one that you're comfortable with. That's fine. I still might make fun of you, but
I carry a 9mm, by the way.
That's like, fire extinguisher you're going to put in that room, go with the smallest one, the most delicate fire extinguisher. Go with the one that's going to be the most comfortable, as if you had to carry a fire extinguisher around all the time.
I'm that confident in my skills.
Yeah,
I also
you're
drive a
not-
Ford because I'm that good at repairing cars.
You're only going to need like 2 swipes with that fire extinguisher to be able to put out that blazing fire, so you don't need a big giant one. Let's say there's a world war. You don't need to put out the whole world war.
Yeah, I want to carry the Halon extinguisher. It'll extinguish the fire and probably extinguish you too. But
Oh, you
It'll
seen
get the
those
job
bowling
done.
balls? Have you seen the like bowling ball looking things? And you can either have them just in a place where it might catch fire and they'll just be there, or
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, I've
throw
seen
it at a
these.
fire, that he just I don't know what they exhaust the fire, right? Or kill all the oxygen or something. Those are neat. I want to get a whole bunch of those, like grenade size. Those would be super
yeah,
cool. Or I guess baseball size, whatever. Actually, those would be cool with a bazooka, or like an air launched. Actually, that'd be super neat.
Oh, anything else we want to talk about?
Talk about the bad stuff.
I shot my Ruger Single 6 yesterday, and I found the difference between the 22 and 22 Magnum. I finally saw the difference, and now I understand why Ruger doesn't want you shooting 22 mag out of the Wranglers, because that's a lot of pop. A lot of pop for a aluminum frame to handle. That's why I see why they want them being shot in a stainless steel revolver.
So why don't you give us maybe some of the bad things to keep an eye out for? What's going on, G-Webs?
There isn't as many. There's the 117 gun control organizations calling for a new gun control for the State of the Union, right? Except then, did you watch the State of the Union?
I didn't.
Nope.
Okay, so I did. And it's worth watching because the State of the Union might have been, I think the whole video is 45 minutes and most of it is them getting ready for him. And then he does his speech and then it's like him walking away. So if it's way less than 45 minutes, it's probably more like 20 minutes of the actual speech. And he's pretty much cooking. Like anybody that thinks that Biden can't just go for 20 minutes like a politician isn't watching his speeches, because he's very comfortable just going. He doesn't pause or break or nothing. He's just like bam, bam, bam. I'm sure they're reading off of. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I saw one clip from it where he's mumbling.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the one time he stumbles or whatever, but seriously, it's like boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba blah blah, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Like he's just he doesn't quite stop to stumble on cue, but he stumbles at pretty strategic places. I'm just saying, this guy's been a politician his whole life. Like I say, he's reading teleprompters.
Yeah,
He's super comfortable. He's
probably also on the good drugs for these speeches.
Whatever. I'm just saying, he's very confident doing his speech or whatever. And the thing is, his speech was like, I hope everybody's having a good time. Everything's good. Everything's nice. All my people that are happy, and everybody that isn't happy, we're going to try to make you happy, and blah, blah, blah. Guns, and then blah, 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 blah. So he went off on almost everything else that you would expect of typical State of the Union, where he's trying to tread water and not bother anybody and not do anything. And he said guns once. He said one thing about guns. We need to ban assault rifles or whatever. One thing in like a 20-minute speech. He went on every other thing, and he barely touched anything. I think there's a lot to the fact that you get all about his fumble, and you get all about the one thing he did say, let's ban assault weapons, which was literally the only thing you're going to hear, because that's the only thing he said.
Stories I saw about the speech that made it sound like, there was a big chunk about assault weapons.
Tiny. It took me forever to find it. I thought there was nothing, and finally found it. It's like if it's 45-minute video, it's like at 37 minutes, and it takes forever to find it because it's just one mention. And it's sad. So anyhow, all I'm getting at is they had 117 organizations give him like a whole list of bullet points, and all he said was, we need to ban assault weapons. We did it before the time, like 4 sentences. He did not even address any of that. So that's something that they talked about the 117 before, right? They talk about how he said ban assault weapons, but the talking heads that you were talking about before, they're not talking about that he dissed all of his anti-gun supporters, and that means a lot. That's a lot of money. He just dissed them in front of everybody, and he could have wailed on us again. He's got nothing to lose by wailing on us. All that money to gain, he didn't even bother. Anyhow, so 715, HR 715 is bipartisan background checks. They want background checks, and it's bipartisan. I think these things have like 2%, but still, I don't think it's worth it for us to ignore this stuff. Assault weapons ban is number 698.
Is that universal background checks, or
these are a national level? So yeah, I'm assuming it's the same one that I think came out last year. I haven't looked into these. I just was accumulating them. I didn't research them all, but I'm pretty sure these are just because they're coming out so fast, and because of the people that presented these didn't offer any detail other than, look what's coming, be careful. It's like, wait a minute, this is just the same one that they regurgitated from last year, which was the one from, these are just their boilerplate ones that they throw out with new dates on them every year. It's just that we have to be aware of them, so I'm not saying be scared of these. These are just, they happen. This is the time of year that they come out. So the assault weapons ban is Feinstein. The standard capacity magazine thing is new. That's number 625 in the House. There's one, Ethan's Law, which is a couple. It's both a House and a Senate one. There's Stop Online Ammunition Sales, which is lame. That one's called HR 584. And then that's it. That's everything national. Otherwise, we get Connecticut is getting wailed on by their governor. Rhode Island has assault weapons ban coming. New Mexico has a semi-automatic pistol that accepts detachable magazine bans, where they come up with that. Virginia Senate has already passed a thing that requires retailers to put up signage and an assault weapons ban. So I guess I should have led with that. And then Maryland has a whole list, actually, but age discrimination type of thing. And then I just like to throw out there that Canada has C-21, which is banning pretty much anything with a semi-automatic action, I think. But it's a lot, but it's a lot of state level attacks, which we all know are going to be challenged with the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association decision of last year. And then the boilerplate, the stuff that they throw out with new dates on it every single year. It's just that some years they get further with it than other years it gets ignored. But I think the State of the Union was an indication that they're literally losing traction on this in a big way. That Four Boxes Diner guy has done a couple of videos on why he thinks that it's the anti-gun rights, anti-gun owners' rights is losing position anymore.
I agree. It's, with all the noise that you hear, whether on YouTube or in the news, it can kind of cloud over the bright spot, which I think, like I said, I think is coming. And I hate putting it that way, but that's kind of the way it is. But it's not, it's not the doom and gloom that I even thought when I started doing live chats. I was more pessimistic than I am now. If you look at the strikes, the half the states are some type of carry, constitutional carry, or permitless carry. That was a big thing for me that said, in Washington, yeah, we're going through a rough patch, but if half the country has constitutional or permitless carry, it's not everybody that is going through this. It's, California, Washington, it's the anti-gun states.
It's localized.
Yeah. So it's sometimes tough to see past that, but it's the NYSERPA ruling was a huge thing that set the guidelines that this is what you're going to do. No more of the two-step
It set the
guideline.
tone.
It
Yeah.
moved the fence. So first off, let me say that thanks to M. Gabriel, who said that Canada's C-21 hunting rifle ban has been tabled. That is super good. That's good to hear. So thanks for that. I'm going to say that the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association kind of moved the fence that Heller had established, back in the day, as far as like moving back, what's the word, from some of removing some of the infringements, taking back some of the infringements. So that change in the fence, the change in the boundary, is not all that there is, and it's not. And I know that the .orgs and the mouthpieces for the .orgs, and I'm not discounting lawsuits, but the .orgs like lawsuits. They get to spend money on lawsuits. They get to win lawsuits. They get to add lawsuits to their thing. Not that many people can do lawsuits, so it's something that they're good at and able to do. They've literally been doing it for a long time. So the hammer that sees everything as a nail is expected, right? They're going to like lawsuits, but it's not all we've got. And the people that have been involved since 2015, incorporating, enhancing, incubating, and developing the new communities of gun owners that establish the welcome mat and the entry doors for the new waves. Those 2 million gun owners didn't decide, I'm going to bite my teeth or bite my lip and go into this gun shop I hate. They all went into their local gun shops, which were new gun shops that catered to them. Those 2 million whatever new gun owners were facilitated by the people from 2015 that have changed the face of gun ownership. So I see all these last things, like I keep saying, is like the last attempts that they're able to use their old strategies and their old tactics and stuff. But the new laws, like the New York State Rifle and Pistol and Heller and stuff, those changes in where the fences are going to be illustrated. They're going to be explained by these new gun owners, the ladies, the new people, the youngins, the young folks, and older folks who are probably going to see gun ownership as a way to save their, or to preserve their freedom and their independence as they feel like they might be at risk with their pension checks or their drugs or something. So there's people on all edges, like every type of gun owner is expanding, and those people are normalizing it, and those people are explaining to the representatives. So I think we've got so many ways where we're in good shape, and we're only getting better. And the fact that Shan is ducking out of there, and the people that they're bringing up are, for lots of reasons, not the people you'd expect. They're not bringing up key players to take over for the key players that they're taking out of the game. It's an indication that they're closing up shop. They're going off to complain about how big our sodas are, or I don't know, corn syrup or something. They're going to go complain about something that doesn't have a right.
Yeah. So, just good things coming. I truly believe it. Iron Road. Is there anything you want to plug?
Not particularly. Probably gonna make a short tomorrow. Do a side-by-side comparison of 22 LR compared to 22 Magnum, so people know the difference.
Good. I think people will like it. G-Webs. Oh, hang on. Wait just a minute. Where did I put it?
I was going to talk to you about a robot.
Yeah. that was the wrong one. Hang on. Okay.
Dude, that was awesome. Thank you.
So go ahead. And, what's that?
What'd you make that in?
Fillmore.
Yeah, dang, that's awesome. Thanks.
Go ahead and plug it.
Yeah, so Alan Anchors suckers are gonna not want their robot anymore for some reason. They feel like they just don't like to make money or awesome patches. So I'm gonna go over there and buy it off of them, learn how to use it, and then bring it back to Arizona. And it's gonna cost $7,000 for that adventure. That's about 140 people. So I think we're at 16. So if we need our goal is to get another 100 and something people on board so we can make this happen. And the results of that investment would be all kinds of fun patchery and participation in the adventures. Yeah, thanks for the links. And if you're not interested or able, then please share the links. It's all about finding 140 people on the planet who thinks it'd be neat to see another robot get saved from California, brought to Arizona to be used for Second Amendment stuff.
Baron, anything you want to plug?
No, I got nothing. Take care of yourself. See you next week.
I forgot to put the banner up. God damn it.
Bruce Banner's pissed off.
Yeah.
He's going to turn green one of these days.
I just realized it. Oh, well. In the description, there's a link for the Gilded server. The overnight Gilded server. Place hangout, share memes, pictures, whatever. Chit chat with other gun people. You don't just have to talk about guns. We talk about whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I forgot it. I don't know what I'm saying. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the night.
You still here? It's over. Go home. Go.